Hello, what's going on, everybody? Today we're doing something a little bit different, something I actually don't think I've done on the channel in a little bit of time. I'm going to be talking about a Pokemon team, and I'll tell you why. So basically, there I was, thinking about how I haven't really had that many battles on the channel recently, primarily because the format's going to be switching in 2 days from when this is uploaded, or like September 1st, the format switches, and so the format has changed. This is Series 6, so this is the 6th kind of VGC 2020 format that we've had, as far as I'm aware, unless I'm miscounting. But so this isn't the first time the format has changed, and you might think it's not that big a deal, right? It's changed, 5 other times. Why is this one different? And each series has brought significant changes to the game and has changed the way that we play the game a lot. For example, adding in Gigantamax forms was a big deal. Adding, the addition of new Gigantamax forms like Lapras, like Colossal, obviously had a big impact on the metagame. And Series 5, when they introduced Isle of Armor, also had a relatively large impact on the metagame, in my opinion. The thing is that this is probably going to be the one that has the most impact. Over 10 of the top most used Pokemon are banned, 10 from doubles and a couple from singles, and so these Pokemon that have been staples for the entire format, Dragapult, Togekiss, Excadrill, Tyranitar, Torkoal, Venusaur, Incineroar, all these Pokemon that since their introduction have been really, really big players in the format are now removed, and so it changes the game significantly. So I kind of was like, okay, there's no way to practice this right now. There's no simulator that's using it, and there's no in-game ladder that's using it. We can't practice it. So I feel like people are going to be a little lost. And so I figured, why don't I post the team that I'm going to be using to try and get to number 1 on the ladder with Jolteon, but I think is like a legitimate team even in addition to that. So I figured, why don't I talk about the team here a little bit and show you all kind of what I plan on using and talk through some of my decision-making process. So going into the format, there's a couple things that I think are big shakeups. Number 1, speed is very different than it's been in the past. When I say speed is different, what I mean is that Pokemon that have been the defining benchmarks of speed for this format, such as Venusaur and Chlorophyll, Excadrill and Sandrush, and mainly Pokemon like Dragapult and then later Cinderace with their high base speeds, they've really determined a lot of what can and can't be used in the format, and they're gone. All those Pokemon I just listed are now gone, and so it's a big deal because Pokemon like Dracovish, which you can see I have on this team, which previously were not that viable, primarily because Togekiss would redirect, and also Dragapult would just outspeed, and even with a Choice Scarf, Dragapult could still outspeed. These really fast Pokemon are now gone, so a Pokemon like Dracovish actually, in my opinion, gets a lot better because all of the counters to it, or a lot of the counters, I shouldn't say all of them, but a lot of the counters to it are now removed. So, yeah, in terms of what I expect to be popular, because both Tyranitar and Torkoal were removed, Rain should be very, very popular. So, I wanted to have Pokemon. First of all, I thought using Rain myself wasn't a bad idea. Although, honestly, I feel like I'm going to play a bit with this team, and it'll probably end up changing a bit, but yeah, I probably have a feeling that I may end up dropping Politoed because I'm not sure it's doing enough here, but I figured Politoed boosts Dracovish's power. It kind of lets you compensate for the lack of choice banned by adding Rain into the equation, and also it protects Ferrothorn as well. And Politoed is just a nice Pokemon as well, and it's nice against any kind of Charizard team. So, yeah, Politoed obviously on the team. I think Rain's going to be big. Porygon Z should be pretty big. I'll talk a little bit about how I plan on dealing with Porygon Z with this team. Urshifu should also be somewhat problematic as well. So, yeah, those are kind of the Pokemon that I had in mind. Some of the things that I had in mind. Weather, much different. Redirection, very nerfed. Weather, extremely nerfed. Pretty much only Rain is viable right now. Although I would say Sun is somewhat viable as well, but Sand really got a huge nerf, and Sun is a lot weakened as well. So, even though you can use Sun, probably, it's so much worse with that Torkoal, in my opinion. Although Ninetales is not a bad Pokemon, but it's nowhere near as good as Torkoal, nor as consistent, nor does it give you different dimensions by adding a Trick Room mode. So, yeah, so there's some interesting Pokemon on this team. I think Jolteon's actually really strong here. Jolteon is just max speed, max special attack with a Life Orb. It hits really hard with Life Orb and potentially Helping Hand from Politoed or in electric terrain. I thought of running Rising Voltage, but I figure maybe Thunder is better for now since I have Rain, and, that changes. I'll probably switch that to Rising Voltage. I also thought about Thunderbolt over Volt Switch, but I think Volt Switch is fine for now because this team has, some really nice offensive pieces, and Jolteon, Dracovish, and this Ferrothorn is actually a max offenses as well. But it also has some really nice defensive pieces in Arcanine, Weezing, Politoed, and Ferrothorn. So yeah. So I think I really like Jolteon. I think it's a good Pokemon. I think the removal of Dragapult is a huge buff to it. I also think the removal of Rillaboom is a huge buff to it. That's another thing that I wanted to mention. Dracovish and Jolteon both struggled against Rillaboom, and Politoed as well. So I figured maybe removing all these Pokemon should be a lot stronger in my opinion. So that's why they're here. Oh, you guys can't hear the... Oh, hang on a second. I'm sorry. You can't hear the in-game audio. Add... Let's see. Add... Audio input capture... PC audio... I did something super stupid. Oh, that didn't work? Oh, it works a little bit. Huh. Sorry, I'm just adjusting this so you guys can have some of the background music that I have as well. You probably still can't hear anything realistically. That's okay. Anyway, yeah. So, in addition to this, I also think that Amoonguss and Clefairy will get a lot more usage. Now, this team isn't perfect against Clefairy, but there's a couple things that I really like with it. Weezing might seem like a weird pick here, but I think it's actually in a pretty nice spot. Neutralizing gas is really good because, like I mentioned, I think rain's going to be big. And although I don't really intend to use Weezing to stop weather, what I do intend to use it for is to be able to outspeed Kingdra or any other Swim Pokemon. It's also here because I think because of rain, this is all like kind of theory, but basically I expect rain to increase in popularity, which also means I expect Gastrodon to increase in popularity. And Gastrodon would be a problem for Politoed, Dracovish, and Jolteon. So adding Weezing, like in the rain, Dracovish can one-shot Gastrodon even if they're plus defense nature. Like it can survive, don't get me wrong, but it also can just drop. So yeah, that's another reason why I like Politoed here, because it adds Perish Song, which means I can ignore the Gastrodon and just KO the partners and eventually win that way. I also added Ferrothorn over my own Amoonguss, which was initially here because I wanted more offense, but I also wanted something that I felt like could actually deal with Gastrodon and pressure it a bit. So that's why Ferrothorn is here. Yeah. Also, I was worried my team was getting too defensive with Politoed, Amoonguss, very bulky Weezing, and Arcanine. I mentioned Porygon Z earlier. That's another thing that I think is going to be picking up in popularity, especially with Clefairy. Weezing is here for two reasons. Number one, it's just like general good support, mess with abilities. Pokemon like Talonflame, which rely on their abilities and don't normally run Focus Sash, it means that I can switch in Weezing and then one-shot Talonflame before it can Tailwind. To do that, I already mentioned Kingdra is pretty nice to slow down. I also like it with my own Intimidati because you can switch Weezing in, switch it out, and get two Intimidatis without switching out Arcanine. So that's another reason. It's also here for Amoonguss, Clefairy, and Porygon Z. Taunt, obviously, for Amoonguss. Taunt for Clefairy, and Sludge Bomb for Clefairy. And also, Porygon Z is an extremely powerful Pokemon. It uses its ability Adaptability to double its stab moves, making Hyper Beam a 300 base power move rather than a 225 base power move, which it would normally be with stab. So with Weezing, you actually survive Max Strike from Porygon Z. I need to make sure I can't wait. We're going to really quickly... I'm not actually positive that I calced Life Orb, now that I'm thinking about it. Let me just confirm that. Porygon Z. I did not calc Life Orb. Okay, so that is not true, actually. Let me see how much we take from this. Let's say Timid, Life Orb, Hyper Beam. Ooh, boy. Okay, so in order to... It's like... we have a chance to survive a Timid, Life Orb, Porygon Z, Hyper Beam. But that's another reason why Arcanine is here, because between Neutralizing Gas and Snarl... excuse me. You can really, really lower the damage output of Porygon Z, and even, like, one of those combinations will effectively, like, yeah, significantly weaken Porygon Z. So, but I think Porygon Z may be a little problematic, but I do have Weezing, I do have Ferrothorn, as well. Like, Ferrothorn's an amazing answer to Porygon Z, and it's also a Pokemon that can max. Like, I definitely am not opposed to just Dynamaxing my Ferrothorn and max Steel Spiking into Porygon, into Clefairy, because the real issue with Porygon Z is you have to survive the Dynamax, and then you have to survive the, you have to get past the Clefairy, so I think Ferrothorn's a phenomenal answer to that as well. But yeah, Weezing I really like in theory here. I feel like Weezing hasn't really had a chance to shine, so maybe this will continue the trend. I feel like on my team I have a couple Pokemon that haven't really had a chance to shine, but this is also kind of VGC UU, right? Like, a lot of the top Pokemon were removed, so a lot of the Pokemon that should do well this format, or in this format, are ones that haven't really necessarily done well in the other formats, because Pokemon like Dragapult and Togekiss were just really preventing them from taking off. So, yeah, that's a lot of the theory. I mentioned Urshifu as well. I don't have a fighting resist outside of Weezing on this team, though Weezing is really good. I like Weezing's ability to allow me to actually protect in front of Urshifu. I think that's really good. Block Unseen Fists. And, yeah, also Weezing is like a phenomenal wall against Urshifu because of its typing. Like, Poison and Fairy both resist fighting, so... and Fairy resist Dark. So, like, of course, Water Urshifu is a bit scarier, but also we have, you know, Jolteon and Dracovish and stuff like that. And Ferrothorn as well. So, yeah. So yeah, I think Weezing, Ferrothorn, and then Arcanine, like I mentioned, all should be pretty positive against Urshifu. So it's just theoretical, right? Like, I haven't actually played games of this because there's no way to practice it. But I thought maybe me talking through what I intend to use going into the new format, maybe, and some of the things that I'm considering might be helpful for you all who are also trying to build teams. And of course, if you want to try this one out yourselves, you can. I'll turn off my face cam for a second so you can just see Dracovish's Vicious Rend, Psychic Fangs, Rock Slide, Dragon Rush. I don't love Dragon Rush. In fact, it's one of my least favorite moves. I think it's a really bad move. However, Dracovish only wants Fish's Rend. Anything else is kind of just like for support. So I added Rock Slide because it's a great move on a Scarf Pokemon, especially now that Dragapult's gone. I added Psychic Fangs because Lapras should see an increase in play as well. That's part of the strength of Jolteon, Ferrothorn, even Snarl, Arcanine. All these Pokemon, like a Theory, do well, and also Weezing allows you to Fish's Rend Lapras, which is nice, although, yeah, that's not going to come into play too much, yeah. So Psychic Fangs to break Aurora Veil is nice in a late-game situation. Also against Amoonguss, it can be strong, because Amoonguss is a little scary. Like, I added Goggles Arcanine, I added Max Lightning Jolteon, I added Assault Vest Ferrothorn, and I added Taunt Weezing, all to help deal with Amoonguss, but Psychic Fangs is good as well. This is also nice because every Pokemon on this team can now somewhat deal with Amoonguss, whether it's Jolteon making it so that Amoonguss can't get Spores off, or it's Ferrothorn who just ignores it, or it's Weezing who can taunt it, or it's Arcanine who has Safety Goggles and Flare Blitz, or it's Dracovish who has Psychic Fangs, or it's Polito who has Perish Song. Like, everything on the team can kind of make Amoonguss' life a little harder, and without Grassy or Psychic Terrain as well, Max Lightning should be pretty good against it, in my opinion. So, yeah, Psychic Fangs is for Amoonguss and for Aurora Veil, Rock Slide is just good utility, and then Dragon Rush is there because I think Kingdra's going to pick up in popularity, and as a last-ditch, effort, you might want to switch in your Weezing and go for Dragon Rush. It's not a great strategy, but I figured, like, it's that or Earthquake, and I don't even have, like, a Ground Immune, and half my team is weak to Earth, or is weak to Earthquake, so I didn't think it was very strong. Also, against teams that are weak to Dracovish, you can probably just lead Polito at Dracovish, or go for Polito at Dracovish late game, and just, like, Helping Hand, Scarf Fish's Rend, and just win. And without Dragapult to stop that, or Togekiss to redirect, like, that should be really strong. So I think this team is really cool. I really like it. Again, I haven't been able to test it, so maybe it's actually garbage, but I'm excited to use it, and I'm excited to see how it works. So I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed. This is just like kind of a short, sweet little team that I'm going to be using on the channel in the future. So yeah, let me know if you want to see more content like this, because I haven't really done a team report or a team code in a while. So feel free to use it yourselves. I wouldn't recommend using it until September 1st, because that's not the metagame it's built for. It shouldn't do very well in the current metagame, but yeah, once Dragapult and Togekiss and Rillaboom are all gone, and Indeedee, excuse me, like, it should do a lot better. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.